Listen, I'm not trying to scare you, but 282 million people faced acute food shortages in 2023, and that number continues to rise to 345 million in 79 countries. To be honest, most people don't even suspect what awaits us. While everyone argues about politics, the wise quietly stock up on 6 essential products. Because when the crisis comes, and it will, you won't want to be the one fighting for the last can of beans in the store. I spent months studying this topic, reading World Bank reports, data on food crises, and talking to those who experienced real emergencies. And you know what? The World Food Program reports that we are witnessing unprecedented food crises caused by conflicts, climate upheavals, and supply chain disruptions. This is not conspiracy nonsense. It is happening right now. So in the next few minutes, I will talk about 6 products that can literally save your family when store shelves are empty or prices soar. These are not strange survival products, but those you can buy in any store today. Stay with us, because the 6th point is what most people completely ignore, but it can be the deciding factor between survival and total collapse. The first product is white rice. Let's start with the first, white rice. And I understand you might think, rice? Seriously? Is this your main product in case of a crisis? But listen, this might surprise you. White rice is a staple food for more than half of the world's population. There is a reason for that. But what most people don't understand is that with proper storage in airtight containers, white rice can last from 25 to 30 years. 30 years. We are talking about a product that you buy today and that your children will be able to eat in the year 2055. Everyone thinks of bread when preparing for a crisis, right? But guess what happens when the electricity goes out? Your bread will mold in just 3 days. Your precious sourdough bread will spoil, but the bag of rice that is in your pantry will remain in perfect condition. And here is the harsh truth that no one wants to talk about. When your children are really hungry, they won't think about quinoa or organic grains. They need something that will fill their stomachs and give them energy. Rice contains many calories and is extraordinarily versatile. It can be prepared with just water and heat. I spoke with a prepared person last month who survived Hurricane Katrina. And do you know what he said? He said that those who had rice did not fight for scraps in emergency shelters, while everyone else stood in line for ready rations. His family ate full meals. Experts recommend storing between 25 to 60 pounds of rice per person for an annual supply. This seems like a lot until you realize it's just pennies per meal. We are talking about the cheapest insurance policy you will ever buy. And here is the main point. Rice consumption in North America is expected to increase from 46,600,000 to 60,900,000 people by the year 2029. Smart people are starting to understand this. The question is whether you will be one step ahead or in a panic when everyone else realizes the situation. The same goes for canned goods, especially meat. Let's talk about something that may confuse you. Canned meat. I understand you. I used to think it was disgusting too. Who eats chicken from a can? It's food for the poor, for camping. Definitely, I wouldn't feed this to my family. How wrong I was. Last year, my friend Jake survived Hurricane Ian in Florida. This guy is a successful contractor, lives in a nice house, drives a truck worth more than most people's cars. There has been no electricity for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And I'm not just talking about his house, but about entire neighborhoods, grocery stores, gas stations, about everything. The stores that weren't flooded had empty shelves within a few hours. People literally traveled for 2 hours to find a loaf of bread. And do you know what allowed his family to avoid hunger while neighbors fought for rations in the emergency shelter? A stock of canned chicken, tuna, and beef that he quietly accumulated over several months. His wife thought he was crazy when he started buying extra cans. Every time at the grocery store, she rolled her eyes and said, "Jake, we're not survivors." So, who didn't laugh when the crisis came? He told me something that still gives me chills. He said, "When your children look at you with hungry eyes, restaurants are closed, shops are empty, and the radio says help may not arrive for weeks. When you open a can of chicken and suddenly can prepare a real dinner with rice and vegetables from your garden, canned meat no longer seems so disgusting. You become the dad who saves the situation." But here's what really opened my eyes. His neighbor, a doctor, a smart guy, earns well, came to them on the 5th day. This adult man was on the verge of tears, asking if they had any food, as his family lived on crackers and peanut butter. The irony is that this doctor could afford the trendiest organic, herb-fed, free-range meat, but at the most crucial moment, he had nothing. And here is what many do not understand. Meat provides people with about 90% of the nutrients necessary for survival. I'm not exaggerating. These are facts of survival science. Your body can actually survive only on canned meat if necessary. Meanwhile, 90% of plants are poisonous to humans. But no one talks about this when promoting the plant agenda. Now this is where it gets really interesting, and it's happening right now. With 345 million people facing acute food shortages worldwide and inflation affecting over 70% of countries, guess what disappears first from the shelves during a shortage? Fresh meat products. Why? Because without a refrigerator, meat spoils in just a few days. And canned meat? It can stay in your closet for 5 years, boldly ignoring power outages, supply chain failures, and economic chaos. Last week I was at Costco and overheard a conversation that made my blood run cold. Two people were discussing how the price of ground beef in their area had risen from $3.99 to $7.99 per pound in just 6 months. 6 months. One of them said, "At this rate, my children won't know what a real hamburger tastes like by Christmas." And then it hit me. We are not preparing for some distant apocalypse. We are preparing for next Tuesday. But you shouldn't just grab the first can of meat you find like some novice. You need variety. And that's why each of these dishes matters. Canned tuna. And I'm not talking about the cheapest. Take quality tuna packed in olive oil. This is necessary to obtain omega-3 fatty acids because your brain really needs these healthy fats for normal functioning. When stress overwhelms you and you need to make vital decisions for your family, you want your brain to work at full capacity. Canned chicken is the king of versatility. You can make chicken salad, add it to soup, mix it with rice and vegetables, or prepare tacos or sandwiches. The possibilities are endless. Canned salmon and sardines are absolutely filled with essential omega-3 fatty acids that your body needs. Plus, they contain a lot of protein and calcium. Yes, sardines may sound unusual, but when salmon costs $25 a pound in the store, you will thank me. And here's something else that most people overlook. Canned beef, especially grass-fed like the Yodera brand, is like having a steak for dinner in a can. Mix it with rice, add some canned tomatoes. Here is a dish that will make your family forget about the crisis. But here is the real surprise that should both scare and delight you. Storage does not require a refrigerator. Think about it for a second. While everyone else panics about their $300 steaks spoiling during a power outage, and climate change leads to more extreme weather and outages each year, you calmly sit with a stock of protein that doesn't care whether the lights are on or off, whether it's plus 40 or minus 10 degrees. I remember talking to a prepared person who survived the freeze in Texas in 2021. He said that the saddest thing he saw was his neighbor throwing away a freezer full of meat because it had thawed for too long. Hundreds of dollars worth of food were lost. Meanwhile, his family ate like kings, using their stock of canned goods. And let's talk about what no one wants to talk about, but everyone needs to know. We observe the escalating conflicts around the world, supply chain disruptions that are not improving, and food crises that experts say will continue for many years. This is not intimidation. It is data analysis and appropriate preparation. Trust me, when you are preparing a hot, protein-rich meal for your family while your neighbors have been eating cold cereal for 4 days because the stores are empty and there has been no electricity for a week, you will understand why sensible people are quietly stocking up now. Your family will look at you as if you are the smartest person in the world, because at that moment, you truly will be. Third place goes to food, dried legumes. You will be surprised that beans are in third place because many consider them boring. But listen, in December 2025, the U.S. Dietary Guidelines Committee released new recommendations, placing beans, peas, and lentils at the top of the list of protein sources. Yes, you heard correctly. Not chicken, not beef, but beans. And here's why this is important for crisis preparation. Beans are practically food gold. Most legumes provide 29 to 36% of your daily protein needs per cup. Additionally, they are rich in fiber, iron, folic acid, and potassium. But here is the main detail. Scientists call legumes a sustainable and healthier alternative to animal proteins because they can literally save your life when meat becomes unavailable. Do you know what surprised me? I read a study from Finland where participants were switched from meat to beans for 6 weeks. The researchers were shocked. There were no differences in bone formation, amino acid consumption, or calcium levels between those who ate meat and those who ate beans. These people received complete nutrition solely from beans. But let me tell a story that illustrates this clearly. My friend Jake thought he was smart at the beginning of the pandemic. He stocked up on a huge amount of rice and canned meat. A smart guy, right? You're mistaken. After 3 weeks living only on rice and Spam, he began to feel weak, tired, and unable to concentrate. Do you know what he was missing? A magical combination of rice and beans. The thing is, most people do not understand. Beans and grains together create a complete protein that meets all your amino acid needs. This is the perfect survival food from nature. Rice gives you energy, beans provide protein and fiber. Together, they represent a true food power that can sustain you for months. And the variety, oh yes, you have choices. Black beans are simply wonderful. Half a cup provides 8 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, and is rich in antioxidants. Beans. It is so rich in protein that researchers found it can satisfy a craving for meat with its rich umami flavor. Lentils cook quickly. In just 20 minutes, half a cup provides 9 grams of protein and 29% of your daily fiber needs. Now I know what you're thinking. Yes, but beans take forever to cook. What if the electricity goes out? This is the reality. When a crisis strikes, you will have plenty of time. Legumes have fed civilizations for thousands of years because they are nearly foolproof. Soak them overnight, throw them in a pot of water, and you have food for several days. Here is what is interesting. The American Institute for Cancer Research analyzed 500,000 studies and recommended consuming legumes with every meal. Not every day, but with every meal. These are not just survival foods. They are truly some of the most nutritious things you can eat. And the shelf life? Properly stored dried beans can last from 10 to 30 years. Think about it. You buy a bag of black beans for $3, and your grandchildren can still eat them. Try to get the same profit from your pension fund. The essence is this. When stores are empty and a kilogram of ground meat costs $50, if you can even find it, you will be ahead with your bags of beans and rice, getting a full meal for pennies. This is not just smart preparation, it's insurance for survival. Fourth, honey. This will surely surprise you. Honestly, most people walk past it in the store without thinking. Honey. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Seriously, honey? But listen, because it's really liquid gold in times of crisis. Archaeologists found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs. And you know what? It was still perfect for consumption. 3,000 years. This is not a typo. While your trendy organic kale rots in 3 days, honey just waits. But here's what's interesting. Honey has a very long shelf life and serves as a natural source of energy. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. This product is like a Swiss Army knife in a jar. Do you need a sweetener when sugar becomes scarce? Honey will help you. If you get cut and need antiseptic, honey kills bacteria. I'm not joking. Hospitals use medical honey for treating wounds. This is what happened during the financial crisis of 2008. My neighbor's grandmother, who survived the Great Depression, told me that she traded honey for necessary goods because it was in demand. Think about this. When money depreciates, honey becomes currency. Now, with what is happening in the year 2025, what do you think is happening? Inflation in food prices affects more than 76% of countries, and honey prices are also starting to rise. Commercial beekeepers face challenges from climate issues, diseases affecting hives, and supply chain problems. Last month, I saw raw honey that used to cost $8 a jar. Now it sells for $15. But here's what's interesting. While everyone panics about meat and bread, the honey just sits on the shelf and waits. It doesn't require refrigeration. It won't spoil if the electricity goes out. And honestly, when you eat bland rice and beans for weeks, a little honey makes it all feel like real food. Smart people, take a few cans now while it's still available, because when the crisis really hits, this product will never spoil. Fifth, canned tomatoes. At first glance, item number 5 may seem boring. Canned tomatoes. But don't rush to conclusions, as what I am about to tell you will completely change your perception of these little red saviors. During times of food shortages, canned tomatoes are among the first to disappear from store shelves, and there is a very good reason for this. Savvy stockpilers hoard them as if they were made of gold. Do you want to know what happened this year that most people are unaware of? We faced a serious tomato shortage that hit supermarkets so hard that stores began to impose limits on the number of cans that could be purchased. I speak of empty shelves, of people fighting for the last fresh tomato, while the canned ones were simply ignored. It was like people dying of thirst next to a great well because they only wanted bottled water. But that's where it gets truly insane. And this will shock you. Canned tomatoes actually contain more lycopene than fresh ones. Yes, you heard that right. The canning process makes them more nutritious, not less. More than 700 studies have shown that lycopene positively affects breast cancer, cardiovascular diseases, inflammation, and prostate cancer. So while everyone is obsessed with expensive, tasteless winter tomatoes in the store, you can get better nutrition from a can that costs 89 cents. And listen, I need to talk to you about something that no one discusses in the circles of stockpilers. The psychological aspect of nutrition in times of crisis. When you have been in an emergency for 3 weeks and are consuming your 100th portion of plain rice with beans, what will save your mental health? Taste. Real, authentic taste. Tomatoes are the foundation of Italian, Spanish, Mexican, and Indian cuisines. They are literally a magical ingredient that transforms bland survival food into real dishes that one wants to eat. I learned this lesson from a man named Mike, who survived Hurricane Katrina with his family. He told me something that still gives me chills. He said, "We had plenty of food supplies, rice, beans, canned meat, everything. But after a week of such tasteless meals, my children were literally crying at dinner. Not because we were hungry, but because everything tasted like cardboard and hopelessness." Then one day, my wife found cans of canned tomatoes in the back of the pantry that we had forgotten about. She prepared a simple sauce with garlic and the herbs that grew outside our home. I swear, when that smell filled the kitchen, my children's faces just lit up. Suddenly, we felt human again. This story struck me deeply because it reveals something important. These canned tomatoes literally go from the field to the processing plant in just a few hours. So you get maximum nutrition and flavor captured at the perfect moment. High-acid products like tomatoes maintain their quality for 18 months after the expiration date, meaning you can buy them now and forget about them until needed. And here's something that will surprise you. Tomato products make up more than 80% of lycopene in the American diet. Therefore, when fresh produce becomes scarce or costs an exorbitant amount, these canned goods not only help you stay full, but also support your health. Plus, you can get sliced, whole, pasta, sauce, everything you need to prepare hundreds of different dishes. The psychological effect is truly palpable, and I won't tire of repeating this. When everything around seems to be collapsing, when the news is frightening, when you don't know what comes next, the aroma of tomatoes simmering with garlic and herbs is not just cooking food. It is the scent of hope. This is the smell of home and normalcy. Everything that makes us human. One should not underestimate how important this is when you are scared, tense, and trying to keep your family together in uncertain times. Now let's move on to powdered milk. At first, this may seem a bit strange, but listen to me. I see you rolling your eyes, recalling that small horror from elementary school. But I am ready to tell you a story that will completely change your perception of this product. My friend Jake, an American living in Beirut, called me last year when Lebanon was experiencing an economic crisis. He laughs, but it's such a nervous laugh when everything around is collapsing, you understand? He says the price of milk has soared from about $2 a gallon to more than $20 for regular milk, and it wasn't even available for most days. The shelves were just empty. Meanwhile, his neighbor, an old Lebanese grandmother named Amira, had been accumulating dry milk for months. While everyone else was literally fighting for dairy products, she was trading small packets of milk as if it were cryptocurrency. And this is what truly amazed me. Dried milk not only lasts up to 2 years with proper storage, but it is also a true nutritional treasure found in your kitchen. It's about calcium, proteins, vitamin D, everything essential. Unlike fresh milk, which spoils if looked at the wrong way, this milk simply waits for when you need it. You might be thinking, okay, but what can I really do with dry milk? Oh, this is just the beginning. First of all, it's not just for drinking. To be honest, if you prepare it correctly, it tastes quite close to the real thing. You can use it in coffee like cream, pour it over cereal, add it to pancake batter, or use it for baking cookies. In general, everywhere you would use regular milk. My wife started adding it to her morning smoothies, and I didn't even notice the difference until she told me. And now something is happening that no one talks about. The inflation of food prices is devastating for more than 76% of low-income countries, and dairy products are suffering the most. Yesterday, I was at the grocery store, and the price of milk was $4.89 a gallon. This is an increase from $2.50 2 years ago. But a package of dry milk, from which you can get the equivalent of several gallons, costs less than $10. Do the math yourself. But there is one psychological aspect that most people completely overlook. Imagine a situation. The 4th day of a serious crisis. Perhaps it's a natural disaster, perhaps supply chains are disrupted, or there is economic chaos. There is no electricity, shops are closed, or completely empty. Your children wake up, they are scared, and everything seems wrong. But what can you still do? You can prepare their usual breakfast with cereal and milk. This feeling of normalcy, the sense that mom and dad are still in control, is worth its weight in gold. I remember talking to a family who survived Hurricane Katrina, and the mother said something to me that will be remembered forever. She noted that the hardest part was not in the big dramatic events, but in the disappearance of small, everyday routines. There was no morning coffee with cream, no milk for the children's cereal, no ingredients for comfort food that make everything more bearable. She said that if she had stored dry milk, it would have made those weeks much easier. Now let's talk about the main problem. Yes, some believe that powdered milk has a strange taste, but here is the secret that changed everything for me. It's all about how you prepare it. Most people simply add the powder to warm water and expect magic. This is the wrong approach. You need to mix it with cold water, really cold, and then let it sit in the refrigerator for a few hours. Squirrels need time to fully dissolve, and the temperature must be right. Honestly, most people can't tell it in a blind tasting, and even if you notice a slight difference in taste, what of it? When regular milk costs more than premium gasoline, when the shelves in the stores are empty, when your neighbors go to 3 different shops in search of dairy products, do you think anyone will complain about a slight change in taste? My Lebanese friend Jake expressed it perfectly. When you thirst in the desert, you do not criticize a bouquet of water. Here is another aspect that most people never think about. Dry milk saves an incredible amount of space. One package takes up about a quarter of the space needed for an equivalent amount of liquid milk, and you don't need a refrigerator until you mix it. If you are facing power outages, if your refrigerator is packed with other necessary products, if you are in a situation where space saving is important, this is a real find. The truly intelligent prepared people I know do not stockpile just one type. They have whole milk powder for drinks and cereals, non-fat dry milk for baking and cooking, and some even store buttermilk powder for pancakes and cookies. It's like having an entire dairy section that never spoils. Yes, powdered milk may not be an Instagram treat. It's definitely not on trend, and your gourmet friends might judge you. But when the next crisis situation occurs, which always happens while everyone else panics over the lack of dairy products and insane prices, you will be the genius who foresaw it. Believe me. I'm not trying to scare you, but the situation is truly alarming. Food prices are reaching record levels worldwide, and we are witnessing supply chain disruptions that experts deemed impossible just a few years ago. Smart people don't wait to see how much worse things will get. This is what I want you to do, and it is important. Do not fall into madness and empty the supermarket shelves like some people preparing for the end of the world. This is not what it's about. Next time you go shopping, just add one extra item from this list. Maybe it will be a bag of rice this week, a can of chicken next. Build your supplies slowly and responsibly, because here's the thing. The best time to buy was 6 months ago when everything was cheaper. The second best time is right now. And if this has been useful to you, support me as I track this crisis situation every day. Prices of food, supply chain issues, global conflicts affecting agriculture. I monitor all this so you don't have to. Your future self will thank you for your willingness. Remember what my Lebanese friend's neighbor told him when everyone was panicking over the milk shortage? She said, "The wise prepare when times are good, not when they are bad." And so my question to you is, which of these 6 products surprised you the most? And more importantly, what will you add to your basket this week? Write a comment, and I will read each of them. And if this video helped you see product safety differently, share it with someone who needs to see it.